Each day, over 20,000 calls are made to the domestic abuse hotlines. Yet separate studies by Maria Schwartz and Robert Sigler both indicate that less than 1% of domestic abuse is actually being reported. According to the CDC, psychological abuse involves trauma to the victim caused by verbal abuse, threats of acts, or manipulation. This includes physical harm, isolation from friends and family, controlling behavior, criticism and blame, financial abuse, and threats to harm themselves if you leave. 2 years ago, I became the victim of physical abuse. Through my time with the court systems and in therapy, I realized that I had been the victim of psychological abuse for much longer. Domestic abuse spans much wider than just physical violence. Non-physical abuse leaves scars that last and causes greater long-term damage and is widely ignored by the public. See, many victims of psychological abuse don't even realize that they're victims. They've heard their entire lives how this is just the way things are. They're the ones who are wrong, and they're the ones who are worthless. Without awareness, that's what they will always think. Psychological abuse is often more prevalent than physical abuse. 36% of women and 29% of men have been affected by physical abuse from a partner. 49% of both men and women have experienced psychological abuse. See, psychological abuse is a ghost. It has no look. No one can tell, and it's easier for the abuser to get away with it. Psychological abuse frequently has longer lasting, more damaging effects than physical abuse. The Journal of Interpersonal Violence cites that psychological abuse as a stronger indicator of physical abuse for PTSD in women, with 7 out of 10 psychologically abused women reporting symptoms of PTSD and depression. Victims also have poorer physical health and mental health and miss more work. According to the Purple Purse statistics, nearly 8 million days of paid work are missed every year due to domestic abuse, which severely affects other employees, the company's bottom line, and the victim's personal income, which affects their ability to leave their situation. While over the past 10 years, resources for those being abused has greatly increased, there's still very limited help available for someone seeking relief from psychological abuse. Most options only involve help with recovery and seeking mental health treatment and therapy. Women'sLaw.org assists in finding shelters and lawyers, but legal assistance is only available for those who have been physically abused within the last year. In my research, I found a link suggesting help from a child and family resource agency. The only agency listed for Arkansas was the Office of Child Support Enforcement, which is virtually helpless for someone who is trying to get out of their situation. Psychological abuse is vastly overlooked by our justice system. Over the last 2 years, I have been to court twice for my husband threatening me with a gun. I got out of our marriage, but he still had partial custody of our kids. After I moved and asked for a divorce, he blackmailed me. He attempted suicide. He began doing drugs and threatening me. I went to local police, to the county sheriff's office, and to the city prosecutor, who's the one who prosecuted his physical case against me. Even with screenshots of threats, his previous history of violence, and his current drug use, there was nothing they could do to help me. We live in a broken world with a very broken system. The statistics show it's happening and it's harmful, but what are we doing about it? Things we can do include learning to identify the signs. Is your coworker missing a lot of work? Is your best friend suddenly quiet when their spouse is around? Do you have a family member who stopped showing up for family events? Are you being told that you're worthless? These are all signs of potential abuse. Check on these people. Let them know that you notice and that you're willing to help. You can also help find resources. Go beyond a hotline. In cases of psychological abuse, more help is needed than therapy or church. These victims need support, including finances, employment, childcare, and a place to live. They need legal aid they can afford, and they can't be overlooked because they're not being hit. Most importantly, we can spread awareness. Resources are lacking because people don't talk about it. 49% of both men and women isn't a low number, but we're so skeptical that we just pretend it's not happening. Take a stand. It's so hard to imagine the situation if it isn't happening to you. But the statistics aren't made up numbers. If If it's not you, chances are it's your mom, your uncle, your brother, your daughter, your best friend, or your coworker. Imagine them being able to go to sleep at night, not terrified of the person who's lying next to them. Imagine them being able to go to their grocery store without being worried that they're going to overspend or buy the wrong thing. Imagine them knowing that they are worth more than what they're getting. This is what psychological abuse looks like. It's in the little things and the little details that we don't ever consider could even be a problem. It's affecting nearly half of our population. It's damaging far beyond the physical, and it's overlooked by law enforcement and even domestic violence agencies nationwide. We don't all have time and money to spare, but we can help by simply staying informed. Visit the NCAVD website at ncavd.org, click the Take a Stand link, and choose just one action to take, whether it be posting a Take a Stand selfie or donating an old cell phone, and even broken cell phones count. Be a catalyst for changing society to have zero tolerance for domestic abuse, even the abuse we can't see.